everyone, and welcome back to another At America TV event with me, Jasmine. I hope you all are doing well. So for those of you joining us for the first time, At America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center, and our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. We have temporarily moved to a digital platform so you can still enjoy all of our events at the comfort of your own home. So for tonight, we will be discussing how to write a statement of purpose or personal essay for U.S. universities. But as usual, before we begin tonight's event, I would like to share with you guys that At America is having a giveaway as part of our 10th anniversary celebration and a celebration of Earth Day in the month of April. We're inviting you guys to participate in our giveaway so you guys don't miss out on a chance to receive one of our 5 bikes that we will be giving out. So how can you guys participate? You can stay tuned until the end of the program because that's when I'll be sharing with you guys how to participate. And also, as usual, before we begin our events, I would like to share with you our social media quiz question. So tonight's question is, why do colleges ask for personal essays? Is it A, for more insight about your personality, B, proof of your writing skills, C, why you want to apply to that school, or D, all of the above? You can participate in our social media quiz by commenting on our social media platform on our Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Instagram. And for those of you who got the answer correctly, you will get a live shout out from us at the end of the program. All right, without further ado, let's invite both of our beautiful speakers, both of our Education USA advisors here at America, Ms. Santika Salim and Ms. Pina Latas.
All right, thank you so much, Jasmine. I love the question, by the way. Why do the U.S. universities ask for admission essay? That's a really good question. And hopefully you understand that by the end of this presentation. But hello, everyone. My name is Fina. I'm one of the advisors for Education USA based in At America. I would like to say hi to everyone who is currently watching this session from so many different platforms because, of course, we are not only here in Zoom, but we are on so many different platforms such as the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We are also live on YouTube. And I'm actually here in Zoom with the whole At America team. And we actually also have some participants here in Zoom. So if you want to join the crowd, feel free to do that. I have my colleague Santika will help me while I'm giving the presentation in the chat room. So feel free to interact with one another, with the other participants, or if you have some questions, Santika will help me answer some of those questions as well. But then after my presentation, we are going to have a discussion. And I'm going to also, take some of the questions from you guys as well. But if you prefer to just stay wherever you guys are currently watching this from, feel free to do that. If you have any question on the other platform, you can do that because we have our amazing At America team who will make sure that all of these questions will be in one Excel sheet. And then at the end of my presentation, I will be able to take a look at that and answer some of that as well. Okay, I hope some of you joined the session yesterday evening. We had a session on resume and CV and letters of recommendation. And tonight we are having another part of step 3, that is completing your application. And it's definitely my favorite time of the month. This is part of our monthly event. Some of you probably already know that, but just in case this is your first time, I would like to give you just a really quick introduction of Education USA, just in case you're wondering who we are. But I'm going to go quite brief here because the presentation tonight is actually quite long, but don't worry. I promise you that this is going to be very informative. In fact, basically, all of the new advisees who came to see me or see Santika, we always ask this question where, if you guys have not watched the session before we have the essay session one-on-one, we always tell them to actually watch the session. Okay, so what is Education USA? We are part of the U.S. Department of State Network, or di Indonesia kita bilangnya Kementerian Luar Negerinya Amerika Serikat. We have over 400 international student advising centers in more than 170 countries. And what we do as the Education USA advisors is that we provide you with all of the information that you need regarding higher education in the US, such as bachelor's, master's, because I would like to have, more time with you guys, taking some of your questions, because this session tonight is this is quite popular. A lot of people actually, going to gain so much from this presentation. But we have 5 steps, and we start with step 1, that is research your options, and then finance your studies. Step 3, completing your application. And by the way, the event tonight is part of step 3. And then we also have step 4, that is applying for your student visa. And then last but not least, we have step 5, that is prepare for your departure. So we basically here in Education USA, we assist everyone every step of the way. So there are 2 advisors. Again, if this is your first time, there are 2 advisors here in Education USA at America. But we are now going fully digital. So, but then the good news is that we are still available every day. So we are available from Sunday to Saturday. So from 1 until 9 p.m., we are now conducting all the advising sessions via Zoom. So here is, I leave you the Zoom ID, 276-124-396, and Santika will help me share with you the link of the Zoom advising room, so that you can, save it, copy, and then you can just copy paste it the next time you want to see one of us. Obviously, there is no advising session right now, although I said that we are available every day because obviously, Santika and we are running this event. But tomorrow, if you want to see one of us, we are available from 1 until 9 p.m. Okay? Or you can email us first, actually, to our email center. If you don't feel like just jump into Zoom and see one of us, you can email us first if you want to introduce yourself, or if you have, quick questions, feel free to do that. Our email is jakarta.atamerica@educationusa.org. Oops. This coming Saturday, I'm actually very, very excited about this event. We have not done this before, but I just feel, again, I call this week an essay week with Education USA at America, because we have the session tonight where I will give a full presentation. But then previously, every time we have the sessions, we always running out of time when it comes to the discussion and Q&A. We are still going to have that tonight, probably just about, like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. But I learned that it's never enough to actually talk about essays in that short period of time. So then I was thinking, what? Let's create another session where I don't give the presentation slides whatsoever, but I just want to discuss with you, kind of like a follow-up to what we are going to have tonight. So tonight is basically full presentation, and then with short discussion and Q&A with you guys. But then let's continue that again on a Saturday. And then it's going to be so much fun, because Santika and we are planning to invite some of our advisees that we are currently working together on the essay. And let's hear from them, some kind of like testimonials. I told them that, just be honest, because, if they feel like, oh my God, it's really hard when he has a session with Fina, because Fina keeps doing this and that, But basically, at the end of the day, what we want to help you on is for you guys to actually have like a really strong essays. So yeah, please join the session. It's going to be this coming Saturday at 1:30 until 3:30. So we're going to take a look together why, a lot of people found it, challenging and difficult when it comes to essay writing, basically everything about essay writing to U.S. University. And then comes May, this is actually very exciting, because this time around, Santika and we've been receiving, a number of emails from some of our advisees that we have been working with together for the past 6 months, even like a year before, where they shared with us that they already got accepted to U.S. universities. And so this event is not only for them who already get accepted, but I also like to extend the invitation to you guys as well, so that you can basically network together with some of this, fellow Indonesians who already get accepted. But basically, this is kind of like our mini PDO, or the pre-departure orientation. Remember when I said the last step of Education USA service is, pre-departure orientation? This is kind of the mini version of it. Basically, again, we're just going to discuss. I would like to hear from them, their experience, applying to U.S. universities, their experience using Education USA at America services, and so on. So this is a really great opportunity for you guys to basically mingle digitally, okay? So this is going to be on Saturday, May 8th, somewhat early. It's from 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. Basically, the two events that I just showed you, you can already register that to our website, either the official EducationUSA website, educationusa.state.gov, or for easier access, you can actually also go to our, EdAmerica's website, atamerica.or.id/educationusa. All right, let's get right into it. So tonight we are talking about how to write a statement of purpose or personal essay for U.S. universities. Again, during my presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to do that. And send your questions if you are here in Zoom, in the chat room. If you are watching this from Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, leave in the comment section. Don't worry, we have our team going to collect all those questions together. But I just wanted to give you the heads up that this is going to be a somewhat long presentation. I try my best to actually reduce it, but it's really challenging because all of the information that I'm going to give you is really, really important. But what I really hope for you to gain after this session is that you will understand better, and you're not going to underestimate the importance of this essay. Okay? So let's just start with this one bold statement: the fact that writing the U.S. admission essay is really that important. In fact, I see a lot of us actually, you're thinking about studying in the U.S. for higher educations, right? Master's degree, PhD. And then a lot of us somewhat think that essay is something that you want to do at the end of, all of this, documents. And basically, we do not want that because U.S. admission essay is just really, really important. And very, very different than what we think when it comes to writing an essay. But let's start with the fact that each school that you're going to apply in the US, they are going to require at some point a statement of purpose or personal essay. So far, I've been doing this for, the past 5 years. So far, I have not heard or known any US universities in the US on the, master's or PhD level where they don't ask for this essay. But then again, why I say that the essay is really important, I'm going to explain it a little bit more on my next slide, comparing to other countries. But what I want to say here is, now you know that each school is definitely going to ask for an essay, right? And then what you want to do is you definitely want to check if any of these questions, so let's say you're applying to, I don't know, let's say 3 to 4 different universities, you will want to really make sure that the questions are basically, is it the same or is it different? Oftentimes they are going to overlap. It means that yes, the way they ask the questions on the essay is different from one university to another, but then actually if you really do read it over and over again, they are asking the same thing. And if you are unsure, feel free to reach out to us and I will be happy to, explain it to you if yes, they are basically the same questions, or no, they are different questions, but most likely they will. And that being said, what the good news here, because writing an essay is important and writing an essay is actually not easy, but the good news is that if you are applying to 4 different universities, you don't actually have to write 4 different essays. What you can do is we are going to build one great essay where we can actually use that one essay to multiple universities with a minor, modification on each university or each program. So let's start first with just the term itself. So this is like very the general. So this is like the first part of my presentation tonight where I'm, like explaining it to you, the very basic information about statement of purpose, and then we're getting more technical on my, the next session. So are these the same essays? Because there are so many universities using different terms like personal essay, personal statement, statement of purpose, motivation statement, and motivation letter. Which, by the way, motivation letter is, it's not actually a term in the US universities, but we oftentimes hear from our advisees that, hey, Fina, this is my motivation letter. Can you please take a look at it? So let's take a look at some of this, not all, but let's start with statement of purpose, because this is like the common term when it comes to essay. If you want to apply for master's or PhD, right? They call it statement of purpose. But what is it exactly? Well, it's easy, as in, it's just like what it's called. It's statement of purpose. Basically, it's about you making a statement of your purpose. Purpose of what? Well, purpose of why you want to study in the US. Why are you choosing this particular program, right? But then there are also some universities where they basically put on their website, submit a personal statement or submit a personal essay. And what are those? Well, it depends. If they only ask you this particular, just like one essay, and then they call it personal statement or personal essay, we can assume that it is actually similar to statement of purpose. I know it's kind of like confusing here, but bear with me. If they only ask one essay and they call it I repeat it again. If they only ask one essay and they call it personal statement or essay, oftentimes it is actually statement of purpose. However, there are also some of the universities where they ask two essays, one statement of purpose and then one personal statement or personal essay. If that's the case, then, well, the statement of purpose is the statement of purpose, like what I said earlier. The personal statement is basically a statement about your personal story. Okay, bear with me here. I know it's a bit confusing, but let me just put this away, the term motivation letter, really quick, because motivation letter is not a US term when it comes to admission essay. In fact, motivation letter is a term, well, it's technically an essay as well, but it's a term usually used for European countries. So technically, if some of you come to me and use this term motivation letter, I can already make a guess that you are also applying to other countries outside the US. And I'm not saying it's a wrong thing. I'm just saying, oh, okay, so now I know that you're also applying to US universities, and it's kind of like my job to actually bring you, just apply to the US. Just kidding. But yeah, motivation letter, now it's actually a term used for European countries. I know, I think one university that I heard in the US where they said motivation statement. So it's kind of like similar, but it's not common in the US. They usually call it a statement of purpose. So what makes the US admission essay important and different to the point where EducationUSA at America has this event every single month? So I can't remember, I need to dig in again, but I can't remember the first time I actually decide to have this event every single month. But we have been doing this for, I think, the past 1-2 years, I would say, at least. It's because, being in this, with EducationUSA at America for the past 5-6 years, I learned that, again, like a lot of us actually put essay as the least important document, where actually I don't also want to say that it's the most important documents, because again, like if you were here yesterday, especially in the resume event, I mentioned how the whole application process in the US is very holistic. Holistic means that all of the required documents like transcript, your TOEFL, your resume, your essay, letters of recommendation, your standardized tests like GRE, GMAT, it's equal, right? The admissions committee, they will take a look at these documents equally. Although I want to say that when it comes to essay, they really take a look at it quite heavily, right? Because it's just like, there are so many aspects that boost your chance of getting in through essay. And this is why I have this session with you tonight, so that you understand better why essay is really important, so that at the end you can actually create a really, really great essay. So what makes the US admission essay important and different, especially for other countries, is because this is very important actually, this slide, because you are not simply writing an essay out of your autobiography. And this is why, and it makes sense, this is why a lot of us, when it comes to essay, think, oh, writing an essay is really easy. It's just because it's just, the essay is basically just about me. And so this is about my autobiography. So I'm just gonna do it at the end. So let me just focus so much on my resume first and my, GRE and all that. I mean, yes, you definitely have to pay attention to those, but then oftentimes you kind of put aside the essay and then, instead, start writing it at the very end before the deadline. And we definitely want to avoid that. What you want to do when it comes to essay to the US is that you are writing a story of what sets you apart from the other applicants. Again, if you were here yesterday, there was this one slide when I talk a little bit about letters of recommendation and how I said, we'll come back to this sentence where I said sets you apart from the other applicants. It's similar to letter of recommendation. And then now I bring it here again when it comes to essay. You want to write an essay that sets you apart from the other applicants. And why this is important? Because again, oftentimes we are not thinking that far, right? Because we are thinking how it's actually really easy to write an essay because it's just an autobiography. So now you know, I'm telling you right now that when it comes to US essay writing, you are not writing your autobiography. That is the essay for other countries outside the US. And yes, US is different that way. While other countries, you name it, other Asian countries or Australia or like, you know, in Europe, the kind of essays that they are asking when it comes to applying to their universities is this kind of essays, the autobiography one, which makes it really easy. And it's weird actually if that being the case, and I'm actually doing this session every single month, because if you're just writing an essay out of your autobiography, what am I here for? Why do you need to see me and Santika for a review? There's nothing to review on because it's your autobiography. You're the one, you're the author, you're the one who knows about your story, right? Yet in EducationUSA at America, the most demanding service is essay session, essay review. Why is that? Because writing essay to US universities is just really that different. Okay. And another thing what I believe makes a huge difference when it comes to US essay is that the way I look at it, other countries outside the US, when they ask for an essay, again, it's just like autobiography. And autobiography is actually, well, not exactly like in a resume, but in your resume is when you put kind of like a timeline information, right? You have your information about your past universities for your bachelor's degree. And then it has some timeline as in, you know, from what year to what year that you do this job, and from what year to what year that you did this type of volunteer works, right? And then you kind of like put that information into an essay form that ends up with what we know the essay for admission for universities. Now I want to basically keep saying this over and over and over and over again, that it is not the case when it comes to US universities essay. Because first of all, the US admissions committee, they ask this essay because first, they are definitely going to read it. And second time, they actually do want to hear, I think it's on my next slide. Exactly, yeah. So they really view the essay as something personal, as in they really do want to hear about your story. And basically, they want to really understand your point of view and your story beyond the professional and academic achievements that you already have in your CV. So another important information that I would like to share with you tonight is, so basically tonight I'm going to keep giving you a lot of good important information, but what I'm about to say right now is that you do not want to put whatever information that you have on your resume into your essay unless there is something in your resume that is ongoing. So for example, you put your thesis, your research thesis back in when you did your bachelor's degree, and then it's ongoing. That's why you want to do master's, because you want to continue that kind of research. Then yes, you want to actually, you are able to, you will want to put that information into your essay. Other than that, forget about it. So like what? Mentioning that you graduated from University of A or University of B, the fact that you graduated with, you know, cum laude, or, you know, grade, or the fact that you want this competition and that competition, or the fact that you're doing this volunteer and that volunteer. That's information that you have on your resume, right? Maybe some of you are thinking, oh yeah, that's what I want to have in my essay. And now I'm telling you, no, you're not going to do that at all, okay? Because here, the admissions committee, they really view this as something personal. They really want to hear something new, something that is not on the other documents that you're going to submit. They don't want to hear about your GPA. They don't want to hear, because they can see that from your transcript. They don't want to hear the fact that you're doing like a great job, or you start like this amazing, I don't know, like institution or organization or what have you, because they can already see that in the resume, unless they really specify that on their essay prompt. But oftentimes, like the general rule is no, we don't really have the time to actually explain all those, and also that's not something that they want to hear. Okay. The essay is actually the only document, because remember when I said that the admissions committee, they really view this as something personal. They want to hear about you specifically and personally. And the essay is actually the only document, apart from all the other information like your transcript, like your GPA and your how amazing you're doing at your GRE and all that stuff, where you can actually do that. Because transcript and all this, like the GRE and GMAT, even like with resume, that's something that you can't really have control over, as in making some changes in it, right? Think about it. Like maybe you graduated with just an okay GPA. So we're talking maybe about like 3.0 GPA or 3.1 GPA. And you're thinking, oh my God, like my GPA is bad, but my GPA is not that good. But what can you do about it? It's not like you're going back to college and then, take over all of those courses all over again, and then so that you can get, like high GPA, right? And then similar to like GRE and GMAT, yes, I mean, with practice, you can definitely get good scores, but then if you did your best and then you end up with, just an okay score, what can you do about it, right? So it's something like, unless you want to like keep practicing and then take the test over and over and over again, but then, it's involved, it costs money and it's not ideal. That's what I'm trying to say, right? And resume as well. I mean, resume is something that probably you put information back, like in 2019, 2018. It's already there. What can you do about it, right? And an essay is the only document, if you think about it, of all the other required documents that the universities in the US ask, where you can keep improving to the point where you have a really great essay that sets you apart from the other applicants. So I'm going to keep mentioning this, sets you apart from the other applicants. So, so then again, right, it is all about fit, because most applicants have good grades and scores. And here's the thing, guys, like this is what I see, at least, well, I mean, I don't want to say that this is just like an Asian thing or like an Indonesian thing. I think this is like a thing everywhere, maybe I think including the US, or maybe not so much in the US, where, we tend to fixated with good grades and score, good grades and score, good grades and score. And then you will start to realize when you decide to see one of us, either myself or Santika, we never, like I don't even remember the last time I asked my advisors, what is your GPA? Right? I would ask about like their GRE score, because it's, we got like some technique to work on that standardized test, but never about GPA, right? But then a lot of you guys actually, share with us, look, I really actually, want to apply to this universities, but I changed my mind because my GPA is just like this low and that low, because we are very fixated on this grades and scores. And you know what, guys, you're actually not wrong, because that's actually what I see when it comes to applying to other universities outside the US. So I feel like other countries, they are fixated on your academic achievements. I would say the first thing that they're going to take a look is, what GPA that you graduate with, right? And oftentimes, maybe you already know this, if you're planning to apply to, like countries outside the US, where they even put a minimum GPA on their website. And then maybe like when you are planning to apply to the US, you try to find out about this information and you couldn't find it. Similar to like standardized tests. Like, okay, I know that I'm going to take GRE, but where can I get all this information, like the minimum GRE? No, because the keyword here is holistic. They don't just care about like your academic achievement. Doesn't mean that they're not going to take a look at it. They are going to take a look at it, but it doesn't mean that if you have a 3.0 GPA, you are not able to get into this highly selective universities, if that's the universities that you want to go to, right? So you will realize that I never asked for a GPA because, again, that's something that I don't have control over, and neither do you. And so again, like that's why we focus so much on essay, because essay is the only document where we can keep improving, right? And so here I said a good essay or story will make a huge difference in your application. So especially if right now you are concerned about, oh my God, I really want to apply to this one of the highly selective universities in the US, but I'm not sure if I can get into because my GPA is like 3.1, 3.2. Don't worry about it. I keep telling a lot of my advisees that, hey, look, I have advisors in the past where they graduated just with 3.1, 3.2 GPA, but they can still get accepted. They still get accepted to this highly selective universities because of what? Because they're strong essay, right? The keyword here is holistic. We want to balance everything out. So that's basically kind of like the opening general idea about essay. So hopefully that at this point you understand how essay is just different than other countries, and you now understand how essay is basically, just different with and how you want to view essays as very important. Now let's talk about the essay itself. And so how I actually, create this presentation, because it's actually years in the making, this whole presentation slides, is that I want to, start with, because I don't want to at the same time overwhelm you, although, oftentimes people will definitely get overwhelmed with this whole information, but don't worry, take it slow, and that's what we are here for. But I want to kind of like start with a very basic information, and then it's going up and up and up and up. So if you actually receive this invitation of this event through our email, we have like, if you read the email, we actually have that one small section in the body email where we highly recommend you to actually join the session on time. Why? Because if you actually, so for example, I don't know, like maybe some of you actually just joined the session like this particular slide, you're actually going, like you already missed the previous part, but then again, don't worry, I mean, the session will be up on YouTube, but then for me personally, it's always nice if you can actually join the session live. Okay, so let's talk about the essay itself. Now we're getting more technical. Okay, different type of questions. So we're talking about statement of purpose mostly tonight, right? Statement of purpose, the most general essay when it comes to master's degree or PhD programs, consists of usually 1 to 2 pages. With it depends on the program, it depends on the universities. Because, by the way, before I forgot, I want to just let you know that in the U.S. education system, the university systems in the U.S., although it's under the umbrella of, let's say, University of A, right? But each programs, each department, from one department to another department, also from one university to another university, they are very decentralized. It means that each department or each universities or each program, they can have their own regulation when it comes to the application documents. So one department at University of A may ask you to write 500 to 1,000 words, but then the same program at University of B only only ask you to write 500 words. So you have to be prepared, having this kind of like different type of words limit, because it's also equally important. But then if you are here from the beginning, remember that oftentimes these universities might ask the same thing, meaning that you don't have to write, let's say, 4 different essays to 4 different universities. Instead, you can just actually write one great essay, and that's where I'm coming in here, and Santika as well, where we're guiding you in creating this one essay. So statement of purpose, 1 to 2 pages. About it's a lot of information in there. You can talk about yourself. Although yes, I know you'll be like, wait, Fina, I thought you said we're not talking about like what it is in the resume, but you will understand what I'm saying here when I say about yourself. But then mostly about professional goals. Basically, again, statement of purpose. You're making a statement about your purpose. And when you think about it, purpose is something that is going to happen in the future. So you are no longer think about the usual type of essay where you think, oh, I'm going to write about myself. my timeline, my narrative story, starting from when I graduated college or when I was in college until today. That's not what we want to write, okay? And then you also want to give information such as why this specific program, why this specific universities, and all that. That is going to be in that one essay, okay? But then there are also universities where they ask what I call more focused questions. So again, it really depends. You know, the universities, they can create, they can have this type of questions. Usually it's 1, 2, 3 questions, and each question's no more than 250 words, or maybe each question's no more than 100 words. But oftentimes I also realize that when the university asks this more focused questions, actually it's kind of like a breakdown to what statement of purpose is. You know, so tonight I'm going to tell you the structure base, right? Like what you're going to write on the introduction paragraph, what you're going to write in the body paragraphs and all that. And more focused questions is just kind of like they break it down, right? So oftentimes at the end of this more focused questions, you're going to end up with 3 different essays. But actually, when you combine these 3 essays, it's going to be equal to statement of purpose, right? So if you get this more focused questions, you are still able to create just one great essay, like I said earlier, and then use it to multiple universities, even though they are asking the more focused questions type, not just like a statement of purpose. I hope you are still with me at this point. Last, at number 3, unique questions. I'm going to talk real quick. This is somewhat not all. This is not common, but if you are applying for MBA, for example, they usually ask for unique questions. It can be a variety of number of words, or maybe they don't even ask in a essay form. So for example, MIT Sloan, we received a lot of, a number of advisees applying for MIT Sloan for the MBA program. They didn't ask for an essay. What they asked is actually a cover letter, as if you are applying for a job. So it's just like a very short, letter. So it's very challenging, actually. But just to give you an idea, that is very common if you want to study MBA, that they're just like unique in a way. However, what we are going to cover tonight, so that you're not overwhelmed with so many different type of questions and different type of essays, we are going to cover what we call statement of purpose, because that's the most common one. Okay, so we're going to talk about just like the regular essay, where we can assume that they ask for 1 to 2 pages, and consists of from 500, and it can be 750 to 8,000 words. So maybe if you're lucky, you can get some universities where they don't specify any words limit. But if that's the case, then we won't still limit that to 1 to 2 pages. Okay, before we actually start writing the essay, this is I have like some important information here and there on my next few slides. But I believe that this is also important, that we want to know our audience first. Why? Because again, this presentation slides are years in the making, and I actually take a look at what I have learned in the past with some of the advisors that I have worked with. And oftentimes when we write an essay, we tend to forget who is the audience, meaning that sometimes we provide information that for the admissions committee in the US, they may not understand about it. And the beauty of you having either myself or Santika reading your essay is that when I read your draft, I'm going to be in 2 modes. One, Fina, that is an Indonesian, right? So then I can make sure that your essay is very clear to me as an Indonesian, but then at the same time, I will kind of like be in a mode where I will, kind of like pretend that I don't know anything about Indonesia, as in, as if I'm the admissions committee. So I will make sure that when you throw out words that is foreign to, like Americans, So, I've, the words that I, on top of my head, I had an advisee in the past where they used the term gotong royong. We all know what that means as an Indonesian. But then the person at the time, my advisee didn't, you know, explain it really well what gotong royong is. So then when I was like in that mode, when I pretend not knowing anything about Indonesia, I will, discuss it with my advisors that we have to, explain it really well what gotong royong means, right? So who is the audience actually, right? And who will actually read your essays? Maybe some of you wonder who actually, when you submit it, who will read your essays? Because trust me, like they really do read the essays. So basically, they are the members of the admissions committee, right, who are typically faculty members teaching in your respective programs. Sometimes or oftentimes they do have like a team of the admissions committee where, like they work for the university for that particular department. So if you're applying for LLM or if you're applying for in the engineering department, they have like the admissions committee hired specifically for that department who will basically read your essays. So they are somewhat the expert as well on that particular topic, whatever it is that you're going to talk about in the essay. But then at the same time, sometimes they also invite the faculty members to join for particular academic cycle to also read some of the applicant's essay. So we're talking about this bunch of, expert people who are going to read your essay. So I know it's getting scarier here, and I'm telling you, it's getting even more scary from here on, just to tell you how important this essay is. But now you know, right, that we're going to read your essays, a bunch of, like expert people, and then that's why we need to know this, you will want to like know your audience and so that you are, that you can actually end up with like a really clear essay, okay? And what are they looking for exactly? Again, by this point, I want you to kind of like give an X mark when it comes to essay that is very narrative, like timeline based, because that is not what we're going to do. Okay? Because again, I think this is like my third, fourth time mentioning this, but it's so worth it. I feel like where again, this is like years in the making, and what you are seeing here with the presentation tonight is what I call kind of like the recipe that I found that, that the way I look at it, the admissions committee, this is what they're really looking for when it comes to essay. Okay. So it's actually as simple as they're looking for a story. But then when we hear about the word story here, oftentimes you're thinking about, oh yeah, okay, that's easy. It's a story about myself, right? Yet I keep telling you in the beginning that that is not what we want to put in the story. Basically, yes, you can actually put a little bit of a story about yourself, but it's not necessarily a story about like your narrative, and then that's kind of like the big story in the essay, because that's like what a lot of us actually do. So that the majority of the essay is basically about your timeline and the fact that you have done this and that, basically for you to show off, and show off like in a good way. I mean, yes, when we want to apply for applying for universities abroad, we want to show them off, right? Like, hey, look, I've been doing this, I've been doing that. But when it comes to US universities, and this is something that I basically mentioned on the events yesterday as well, that you only want to show that off through the resume and CV. And so an essay is like when you actually tell a different set of story, right? So again, and the term here is a story that basically sets you apart from the other applicants. And I think, I don't know if I have it on my next slide, but before we actually again move on, I want to give you like a little secret that is no longer going to be a secret actually. But actually, the admissions committee, they may read only part of your essay, right? So let me repeat it again. The admissions committee may read only part of the essay. After all that part previously where I say, oh, they actually really read your essay and they really take a look at it as something personal. Now I give you the statement. Why is that? The admissions committee may read only part of the essay, and then, I always tell this every time I put this slide up. There are two different type of persons who will react to the statement. The first one is when they heard, oh, the admissions committee, they may only read part of the essay. Well, so that means they don't really, like look at this document as something important. So I'm just gonna, work on it at the very last, right? That's the first person. The second person is basically when they hear about the statement, they see this as a challenge to wait. Why do they only part of the essay? But what if I have such a strong essay, very strong essay that they want to keep reading, right? So I don't know which type of person are you, but hopefully you are the second one, because if that's the case, then we are definitely on the same page. So the fact that that the admissions committee may not actually read the whole essay should not stop you from actually making a really good essay, because now that we know this fact, we do not want them to stop reading our essay. So that's basically the whole point. If I can kind of like sum this event up, is that I want you all who are watching the session to actually end up with a really strong essay, to the point where the admissions committee will read your essay from the beginning to end. That is basically the whole goal. If you are not up for this goal, you can actually just leave this room and basically just like disregard this event, right? But if you're staying here, we are going to be on the same page. So let us help you in this, right? And I don't know, maybe you start to wonder, oh wow, Education USA at America, you guys are doing the same thing, so you can actually help me on this essay. And it's really funny because there are some people who would ask me, so what is the rate for me if I want to use this service? The good news is that it's free of charge. So you happen to have an advisor such as myself who happen to really love reading essays, so that I'm actually really excited when someone comes to Zoom, they introduce themselves, and then they said, hey, I would like to work on my essay. And I'm actually very excited when that happens. So yeah, and I always tell people that I don't want to like scare you or discourage you or anything like that, but sometimes I like to remind my advisees, especially those who are coming to see me at a very last minute and they only have like a month to work on their essay. I tell them that, look, I only give honest review, and my whole point of being here is that I want you to have like a really strong essay. So be prepared that when I say that the essay is not ready yet, I will say that in your face, that it is not ready yet. So, and then I sometimes tell people that, so are you up for the game? Are you up for the challenge? Because if yes, let's use this 1 month specifically on this essay. But then at the same time, I'm not going to, like emailing you, bombard you with emails. Where are you? You have not seen me. No, I will let you be the one who has the control over. So I'm just gonna like sit around. I'm going to wait. If you're really that serious, you will definitely come back to Zoom often for us to work on the essay, right? So this is the goal. The goal of all this is that so that you guys can have an essay that the admissions committee will read it from the beginning to end. Okay? And how you can do that, this is getting more technical, guys, so be ready, by making a one-of-a-kind introduction paragraph. Making a one-of-a-kind introduction paragraph. The first part of your paragraph. Okay? And when you get to do that, we are going to continue by writing the rest of the paragraphs, and you are going to end up with an essay that no other applicant can write. So basically there's 2 slides. That's why I make it like 2 different slides, because this is really important. The first one is we need to master the introduction paragraph first. It has to be perfect, like completely perfect. And then the following paragraphs is, having a set of story that no other applicant can write. So I want you to really understand this information, okay? Because I'm telling you, writing an essay that no other applicant can write is actually really hard. And by you using the type of essay where it's just like timeline based or like narrative based, it's basically similar to like from one applicant to another, and that's why I said from the beginning we're not going to do that, because that's very, very boring, because other applicants will do that. I'm telling you, people who are not watching the sessions and they don't know a lot about essay writing in the US, that's the kind of essays that that they're going to write. But if you're here with me, you're here with us here, and you decide that, yeah, I want EducationUSA Ad America to guide me on the essay, we are going to end up, I'm telling you, we're going to end up with an essay that only you can have it. And then I'm telling you, that's like when you actually have, like, I'm not saying that, come, like using our service, you are 100% guaranteed get accepted. I'm not saying that at all. So I want you to be mindful here, but I'm just saying that the chance of you getting in will be quite high. Okay. But then at the same time, when I tell you that I want you to write an essay that no other applicants can write, at the same time, I also don't want you to actually try so hard to be different, because probably when I put this up, right, you start to think like, oh, okay, what kind of essays that what kind of person that I need to be able to, like write an essay that no other applicant can write. No, I don't want you to think too hard like that. I don't want you to try too hard to be different. But I just want you to simply be genuine and original, and basically, by having you guys attending the session is already like the first step, and you're doing already like great, because by attending the session you will able to actually write something genuine and original. So that's why I said earlier that I always tell my advisees to first watch this session if this is your first time and you want us to take a look at your essay, and then start writing your draft, and then see either Santika or myself, and then we can build from there. Okay. And then now you start maybe thinking, oh, okay, Fina, so can I see samples of essays from others? Because, maybe you look, because I keep mentioning that I've been doing this for some times. Well, technically, there are some advisees in the past where they give me an okay to actually share their essays to other advisees. Do I have those essays where they now already, like in the US, or maybe they already graduated from, like all the, great universities in the US? I have all these essays. Can I actually share it with you? The answer is yeah. Well, technically I can, but do I want to do that? And the answer is no. And I actually have a good reason why I do not want to share some of these essays to you guys, because again, this is because I did this in the past, and then I actually see that it is actually not a good idea. Basically, it's not necessary for you to actually see samples from others, because what I learned is that when you do that, that's when you are stop being genuine, and that's when you're stop being original. Okay? When you compare to other people's essay, be it, like my advisors in the past, or some of you guys come up to me and share that, hey, there's this one book that I have that is, like a compilation of essays, right? And then when you share that information to me, I already like see that you guys are under pressure in a way, because you already start thinking, even before you start writing, you already, looking at these essays, you are telling yourself, oh wow, these essays are great, and I don't know if I can actually do something like this essay. And then at the end, what you're going to do is oftentimes you are going to end up kind of like following, the structure of what they're doing, and that's when you actually stop being, original and be genuine. Okay, so basically, what I'm trying to tell you here is stop comparing to other people's essay. Okay. And remember, at this point, you are writing a story. This is just like a quick reminder that you are not writing an academic paper, because oftentimes when I have my advisees, they already understand that, oh, okay, now I understand that I'm not going to write something narrative or something about my timeline, stories. Oftentimes the advisees started to write something, but tone wise of the essay is too like academic paper. But then at the same time, we can actually have that, but not like the whole essay. We at least want to start with something light, and I will tell you more about like, creating like a strong introduction paragraph in a minute. So first thing first. So basically, right now we are still in the kind of like the first part of the essay. So we are still in the kind of like introduction paragraph. But before you start writing, the easiest way to think about this whole essay deal is you will want to create a topic or a theme of the essay before writing the essay itself, and very clearly know your goals. Um, when you are able to create this one topic and this one theme, it will be easier for you to actually tell the whole story. Because remember, I don't know how many times I mentioned story, but basically essays is, you're writing a story. But then people sometimes confuse what story do you mean, right? And so by having a topic, by having a theme, is going to be easier for you to write the whole thing. So what is the topic and what is the theme that I'm talking about here? Is a topic or a theme on, remember what statement of purpose means, right? Statement of purpose, it means that you're making a statement about your purpose. So what is it about this particular program that you actually want to end up making some changes for the country, if that's kind of like the scope that you want to go to? Maybe you are an aerospace engineer and you actually want to either fix something in the aerospace engineering field in Indonesia, or you want to start something, you want to build something new for Indonesia. Well, that's kind of like, talking about your purpose, right? And so if that's what you want to do, pick a topic. So what is it that you want to do? You want to fix something? What is it that you want to fix? So keep asking the what, the why. That will end up becoming your topic, because then that's what we want to talk from the beginning until the end. Okay? Stay with me. I know maybe some of you are still kind of like, what are you saying? But it will get easier, I promise. If you kind of like still confused about like, what is this topic? What is this theme that Fina's talking about? Another way that you can also do before you start writing is by asking these big questions to yourself. Who am I trying to help, right? Oh, I want to help so let's say you're coming from the eastern part of Indonesia, right? And then you actually want to help this community of yours in your hometown. So you want to directly have an impact to the people there. Who am I trying to help? Them. I want to help my community back in my hometown. But then let's say it's not necessarily directly helping people. That's fine. Let's change it to, what am I trying to help? So maybe for some of you who want to study economics, or maybe even like engineering, where it's not always like necessarily you giving an impact to Indonesian people or like people in general. So you will able to answer this question, right? Like, what am I trying to help? Oh, I'm trying to help the economy of Indonesia by doing this and that, right? And then the following up questions, if you may want to have this, what is my mission here? This is actually the real deal of what statement of purpose is. So if you think about, like, if you try to connect these questions to what exactly statement of purpose is, it's connected, right? So statement of purpose, again, is something that you want to do in the future about your purpose. And by you answering some of these questions, it's actually connected to this statement of purpose, okay? That basically will be your topic. And when you are able to answer this question, so, okay, I'm helping this small community, or I'm helping Jakarta on the traffic problem, right? That's why I want to study this specific program. That is what going to be in your essay from the beginning until the end, right? I hope by this point you are kind of like, yes, now I get it. I really hope you get that. Okay. The larger the scale of the problem, but then again, it's not always have to be a problem. Maybe you have some ideas, right? The larger the scale of the problem or idea that you would like to focus on in the future. So we're talking about the whole country, for example, the better. But don't worry, I know that when I say this to some of my advisees, they are saying to me, but Fina, I'm not actually, planning to do like the whole country. So what can I do about it? Does that mean that I don't have like a good topic? Not at all. I mean, I have some advices that just focusing only in a spectrum of Jakarta alone, right? But then we can actually make it bigger from there, where we can actually put it in the conclusion. I know now I'm going a bit too fast here, but then we can actually make some kind of like an ambition type of like plan where, okay, I want to start in Jakarta, but then look, if this is successful, we can actually do it to like the whole country, or even like other countries can actually learn from this as well, right? And there are two ways of writing. Now we are kind of like going back to the introduction paragraph. There are two ways of writing a memorable introduction paragraph because we want to write a such strong introduction paragraph to the point where the admissions committee will definitely keep reading the whole thing. Because remember when I said that, hey, look, do you know that the admissions committee, they're not going, some of them or most of them, they're not going to read the whole thing, but then that's not our goal, right? Our goal is so for them to actually keep reading, and that makes writing the introduction paragraph is really, really important. And there are two ways of writing it. The first one is by using the personal approach. A personal story about yourself, but I'm just telling you right now that this is quite rare, because if you want to use this way, you will want to have like such a different story, such a different personal story that sets you apart from other applicants. See, I keep mentioning this term, and I put it here as well, right? As long as you have this personal stories that sets you apart from other applicants, yes, you may use this approach. If not, then I will tell you the second way. So a personal story that sets you apart from other applicants, the examples for on that is, if you have unusual experience, unusual childhood experience, if you may so, that no other, like it's just like one in a million, if we can say that, right? That is not like not everyone has this kind of stories. Or maybe you are a member of an underrepresented population. Those are stories that not the majority of applicants do have that story. And so if you happen to be that, then yes, you can actually use that approach. Okay. So this is the first approach, and then I'm going to give you the examples, and let's take a look at it together. Let's read it together. The passing of my mother and grandmother from breast cancer when I was 15 years old opened my eyes to a new perspective on life. I became intensely interested in scientific research with aspirations to better understand and possibly find a cure for cancer. This is an example. This is like a really great example of using the introduction, the personal approach, because if you think about it, what are the chances that other applicants might actually have the exact same story such as this? I would say none. For that particular, at least for that particular academic cycle that this person actually submit the application, right? Maybe none, right? Maybe this person is the only one that has this type of story. So think about it. If you have, well, not obviously not necessarily like this story, but if you have some kind of experience story that, but don't forget, it has to be related to the topic, right? So you can't have this kind of introduction paragraph about the passing of my mother and grandmother from breast cancer, and then at the end you're actually talking about how you want to study chemical engineering. Those two are not like really connected to one another, unless you want to do something about like engineering with like technology with like trying to find the cure for breast cancer and stuff. But it has to be related. topic has to be related. That's why I'm saying earlier that this is a rare approach, but I do have some advisees that use this approach, especially my advisees who are coming from like the eastern part of Indonesia. I always love to have them around because they always have, unique and different stories. And this is the second one. This is like the most common one, and most likely this is the one that you're going to do by dive into the problem. And again, it doesn't always have to be a problem. It can be an issue. It can also be an idea that you would like to tackle or fix or start. This is again, like this is a common one. You may actually want to use this. And on my next few slides, I actually do have some examples that is coming from my advisees, and I did ask for their permission. I'm not putting all the introduction paragraph of their essay, but I'm just, like take just a little bit of it. It's kind of like a teaser so that you have a better idea of what you can do in the introduction paragraph. So let's take a look at it. Indonesia, an emerging economy country, is predicted to be one of the top 5 largest economies in the world by 2050, according to PwC report. Let's stop there first, right? What does this statement actually tell us? It's actually a really interesting statement, very positive, very some kind of, uplifting, right? And then the person actually continues, Indonesia also shows success in cutting the poverty rate of its total population to an amount of under 10%. Whoa, great statement, right? And remember the audience, right? The audience may not know anything about Indonesia. That's why when you put this kind of like information, it's always great. But then look what the person actually did here. However, the World Bank claims that socioeconomic inequality in Indonesia is widening. It's not good. Eventuating in the situation where the result of its economic growth has only been enjoyed by the richest 20% of its society. So what this person does, and this is, like after, a couple of times we were discussing on the essay, some kind of like making a strategy, is that to engage the reader to keep reading our essay is by providing this kind of like tone. When we start with a really uplifting, positive news, but then, hold on, I'm dropping the bomb by actually giving you this kind of unfortunate fact. And so clearly this person's actually want to fix something, right? And so the person actually very clear mentioning what the problem is, and then the person actually goes on by elaborating more on the problem itself. But then, I don't want to put it all here. But now let's take a look at the next example. One of my favorites here, as one of Indonesia's founding fathers, Muhammad Hatta, had once said, Indonesia will not shine because of the torch in Jakarta, capital city, because remember the audience, they may actually not know what Jakarta is if that is capital city. But Indonesia will glow because of the candles in the village. Great, uplifting, positive statement. And then the next statement is actually really interesting as well, where the person actually is saying Indonesia's food security relies on small farmers. This is a fact, which accounts for 90% of all Indonesian farmers. Okay, great, that's a fact, right? And then whoever going to read this, because the number is bizarre, 90% of all Indonesian farmers relies on this 90% of all Indonesian farmers. But then what the person is actually doing is actually really interesting by making a comparison to the US, because the admissions committee is actually an American, right? Unlike US farmers, who averagely owns 169 hectares per farmers, Indonesian farmers only hold less than 1 hectare averagely. Now, tell me, if you are reading this and you are an admissions committee from the US, or you don't know anything about Indonesia, don't you just want to read the rest? For me, like when I read this, I actually want to know more. Like, ooh, this is such an interesting story. And remember, this is like a bunch of admissions committee in that the expert on that field. So this one is in the field of agriculture. So in fact, the advisees, my advisors who wrote this essays, want to study about agriculture and technology. So it's very exciting. So yeah, we end up, work together to end up with this introduction paragraph. And the last one, It has been almost 2 years since the president of the Republic of Indonesia, very serious because we're bringing the president of Indonesia, officially launched Making Indonesia 4.0, a roadmap planned by the government to reach the goal of being in the top 10 world's most economically developed countries by 2030. This is such a great plan, uplifting, positive statement. And then, similar to the first sample, the person actually drops the problem. Unfortunately, there is still a deficiency of data specialists in Indonesia. So very early in the game, very early in the essay, the person actually already, very clearly mentioned the problem. And then basically that's what the advisees discuss even more in the essay. That's going to be the person's topic, right? The fact that there's a deficiency of data specialists, and then the person actually elaborate on why that is the case. How is it that our government actually have this plan, but then at the same time, there's actually a deficiency? Does the government aware of this? So all this information has to be in the essay. And then followed by, and then that's why I want to study in your program, because in your program, you guys have this and that so that I'm able to learn, so that I can fix it. So basically that's kind of like the essay there. So again, don't forget that at this point, I like to remind you guys over and over again that remember the audience, but then at the same time, we also want to assume that the reader knows nothing about the topic that you write about in the essay. But be careful here, because I said earlier, right, that the readers, the audience, who are going to read your essays is basically a group of people who are the expert of that specific department that you're going to continue your study on. But then it's not necessarily that they understand what is actually really going on here in Indonesia, right? So that's why we have to be very clear when we're talking about Indonesia, right? And again, this is something that not a lot of us actually thought when it comes to essay writing. Most of us have not thought about, I actually never realized that I actually need to write an essay about what is it that I want to do. Because we tend to, again, fixated on, I thought writing an essay is about myself, right? Now you understand, now you know that that's not the case. So yes, we want to give a glimpse about Indonesia. And again, I'm such a proud Indonesian. I love Indonesia. So I always tell my advisors the fact that you want to do something for this country is always like a plus. Like there's a point in there that we can actually show off in the essay, right? So it's not about you showing off about yourself. You already do that in the resume. So let's just put that in the resume. But now this is the time for us to show off what my country has the capability on, and the fact that you actually want to help being part of like fixing that problem, or maybe even like giving new ideas, right? So give a glimpse about Indonesia and a teaser. That's basically in the introduction paragraph, before explaining more in depth in the next paragraph, because again, we don't want to also, give too much details in the introduction paragraph. We just want kind of like a teaser that is enough for the admissions committee to actually be very curious, so that, I want to read more, right? That's like the whole point of writing an introduction paragraph. So yeah, give a glimpse about Indonesia and a teaser about how urgent, how serious, and how great the situation or plan is that you're going to do, okay? And then again, at the same time, you also want to be very specific. This is also something that I see a lot of us do when it comes to like essay writing, that oftentimes we just simply kind of like stay in the service by saying that I would like to help the economy of Indonesia, but then I'm a curious reader. Think of your audience as the most curious reader out there, that every time we make a statement, they will ask you the why, how. And that's something that I actually always ask my advisor when we're doing like a one-on-one session. I will keep asking the why. I will keep asking you the how. Okay? So you do not want to just say, I would like to help the economy of Indonesia, but then you also actually want to explain why and how exactly you help the economy of Indonesia. Okay? And then this is just like some tips that I found along the way that I feel that I think they will be really great. If you want, or if you can actually do a comparison between Indonesia's case or Indonesia situation with other countries. It can be like neighboring countries or even the US, since you're going to study in the US. And then there are, so many interesting things. The fact that, look, Indonesia, and not a lot of people out there in this world know that Indonesia actually the number 4 most populous country in the world, just after the US. So the US is number 3, Indonesia is number 4. So there are actually some similarities between Indonesia and the US. So if you can do some comparison, feel free to do that. And that will definitely, make your essay even stronger. At this point, remember, the goal is to wow the reader and make them keep reading the next paragraph. So can you believe it? I've been talking for so long now, and then we are actually still in the introduction paragraph. But don't worry, I'm going to finish this up very soon because, yes, I want to focus on the introduction paragraph because that's like really important. We cannot actually move on to the next session of the essay if we do not have like a strong introduction paragraph. But once you have a strong introduction paragraph, it will be very smooth. It will be very easy for us to actually do the rest, okay? And at the same time, it makes the fact that we want to wow the reader so that they keep reading the next paragraph, it makes the last sentence of your first paragraph very important. So if you're kind of like like an avid reader, you know that we, like, for us, in order to keep reading the book, we want the author to keep engage us with like whatever stories in that book, right? So then we actually want to do the same thing. And in order for the admissions committee to keep reading our next paragraph and the next and the next, we want to kind of like have like a really strong closing introduction paragraph, okay? That's kind of like I call it the deciding factor for the reader, whether or not they want to continue reading the essay. So basically, that's kind of like we pass like the very crucial and important information. From here on, I'm going to go very quickly because these are basically me repeating what I already said to you for the past, I don't know, 1 hour. And then from after this, we can go on, like discussion if you have some questions, okay? So by now, you understand that you do not want to write a narrative story out of your CV. In fact, now you are the expert on this. So if you have like your friends who have not watched this session, you can tell them that, hey, do you know that if you want to study in the US, your essays is not supposed to be out of your CV, okay? Why? Because we want to have an essay that sets you apart from the other applicants. Because the fact that other applicants out there, not just in Indonesia, but all over the world who are applying to these universities might actually use this style, we don't want that because we want our essays to be special, okay? The second one, create a theme or topic of what it is that you want to talk about in your essay. This is like kind of a very important thing that you want to stick with in order for you to kind of like understand better on how to write this essay. Create a theme, create a topic. What is it that you want to fix? What is it that you want to start? What is it, the kind of impact that you want to do? What is it? What is the problem? Tell me. What is the urgency? Where is the urgency? That's going to be your theme, your topic. We don't want to start by saying that, look, Indonesia need more teachers, for example. But then on your body paragraph, there is this like one random paragraph and you're talking about, back in college, I did a volunteer teaching, or maybe not teaching because I said like, more teachers, but maybe back in college, I did a volunteer, I don't know, something, right? We don't want that. We want to kind of like keep the stories kind of like a story, all connected, right? The third one, there's already a selling point in the fact that we are from Indonesia, but then I totally also understand maybe there are some of you who are watching this and you guys are not from Indonesia. Don't worry, you can actually change the word Indonesia here to your country. I believe that there's always already a selling point in the fact that we are from Indonesia. Why? I'm specifically mentioning about Indonesia because, well, Indonesia is not a country where there are actually a lot of people applying to US universities, and that's kind of like my mission being in Education USA, that I want more and more and more and more Indonesians go to US universities. But right now, yes, there are over 9,000 Indonesians in the US, but it sounds a lot. But if you think about it, the fact that we are number 4th most populous country in the world and only 9,000 Indonesians, that is actually a really low number. So if you are applying to US universities right now, you are actually special. And universities in the US, they are all about diversity. So when there's an applicant that is you from Indonesia, it will definitely like, the admissions committee will definitely kind of like, oh, from Indonesia, it's not often, it's not like on a daily basis that we would have Indonesian applicants applying to our programs. Create a story. Every paragraph, from one paragraph to another, has to be very connected but then at the same time, we need to have like a really strong introduction paragraph. You know that by now. So yeah, technically all paragraphs have to be connected. Don't write something too general. We don't want to say something that is just on the surface. I want to help Indonesia's economy, but keep asking the why. Why do you want to help the economy? Why, of all people in Indonesia, why it has to be you who wants to help the Indonesian's economy? And when you can actually explain that, you can actually have a little bit about yourself in the essay. But then remember, this essay is not just like about you. The bigger portion of this essay is basically about the kind of impact that you want to give for Indonesia. You have to be an expert in that topic. Well, obviously, demonstrate the passion. I think I'm going to skip this. You already know this by now. Questions to ask yourself when writing SOP. I'm going to go real quick here as well. This is kind of like me going a little bit further on the body paragraphs. But think about like what is the aha moment when you realize that you wanted to pursue this path, as in, like you want to do something. When did that happen, right? And then is there any issue that you would like to address? Well, that's going to be our topic and everything. And then don't forget that you also need to be able to connect on how that problem or that issue or that idea can be done by you continuing the program in this particular program in that particular university. So we need to have that one paragraph when where we're talking actually about what that university has in order for you to reach that goal. Okay, body and conclusion paragraphs. I'm going to go real quick here because why? I mean, this is really important. I admit that. I mean, and it is important. But then at the same time, I don't want to overwhelm you with all this information tonight, because what I want, the main key takeaways that I want to take from this event tonight is the fact that you need to like really end up with like a strong introduction paragraph. The rest will go very easy when we actually do the one-on-one session. Okay, so I'm gonna skip this real quick. And then, yeah, this is like, again, something obvious. What makes your statement of purpose great? Well, you definitely have to be very clear, explaining the story and what have you. You don't want to assume that your reader understands everything, especially when we're talking about Indonesia in particular. And then you want to be concise. You want to use words economically, especially if you find universities that only ask you for 500 words. Some people maybe in the beginning, they will, quite happy if the universities only ask you to write 500. But now that you understand better what is supposed to be in the essay, I'm telling you, it is actually challenging to actually write 500 words. And you really wish that the university allows you to write more. 1,000 words is great. I don't want to say that it's amazing. I would say like 1,500 would be great. But 1,000 is actually, we can work on that. Okay, it has to be well written, organized. Again, this is something that I just kind of like, go over again. Relevant from one paragraph to another. Why? Because we are writing a story, right? And again, sets you apart from other applicants is really important. It has to speak to your audience, which is by now you know that the audience is a group of experts on that particular program. So it's a group of the admissions committee who are basically hired for, like take a look at your application documents. But then oftentimes they also invite a number or two faculty members to also read the essay. Establish your voice. You have to be the expert. So when you're talking about Indonesia, you have to, again, be very clear. And then be honest. This is going to be something that we are not used to in writing, and yes, that what makes writing an essay is hard, but then at the same time I want to let you guys know that that's why I am here for. That's what Santika is here for. We are here to guide you on this, okay? And that's, yeah, what I'm trying to say is that, I see a lot of us, underestimate our potential because we are not used to kind of like, telling this kind of stories, because, writing about yourself is very easy, but writing about this kind of stories is actually very challenging. The dues, guys, give yourself plenty of time, even if the deadline is not until January 2022, for example, or maybe the deadline is not until August or not August, September this year. I know, September is still kind of like far away, but I'm telling you, if you can, please start now. I have mentioned this over and over again since what? Last January. Every time I have the opportunity to have this kind of events, I always tell people, start now, start now, start now. And I'm actually really glad for some of you, especially you guys who are watching this session. I really, like really thankful for tuning in this session, because this is kind of like also my way to tell you guys that, look, this is going to be very challenging, but then if you start now, let's do it. Let's do it now so that we have plenty of time to work on the essay. Okay? I'm going to skip this again because come up with a theme. You already know that. I keep mentioning about like creating a topic, creating a theme, okay? Be sure to answer all questions asked. You already know that because we are writing a story. Basically, this is me repeating things, okay? The don'ts, let me start with grammatical errors, okay? I have not mentioned anything about grammatical errors. By now, you start to realize, oh yeah, so because basically tonight, what I have been giving you is the structure of the essay. And in fact, that's what is actually this whole essay deal is about. So when you come see me and when you come see Santika, what we are helping you on is the structure of the essays and actually not the grammatical errors. The reason is because I was born and raised in Indonesia. I am fully Indonesian. I'm not an English native. My English is not perfect. In fact, it's far from perfect. So my grammar, it's actually not perfect either. And so I'm not confident in actually, giving you feedback on grammars, and that requires a lot of times. But what we are doing here is that we are helping you with the structure, not the grammar. That being said, this is also a good reason why you want to start very early, because you don't want to like stick with me or Santika until the day before the deadline, because I always tell my advisees to at least have a week or maybe even 2 weeks apart so that you can find an English native speaker to check on the grammar. And another tip that I would like to give to you is, since you are going to use these essays for US universities, please do try your best to actually find specifically an American. Why? Because before, I never specified this, but more and more advisees actually shared the story to me where, yeah, I do know someone from Australia or like from Singapore or from the UK, right? And then I asked their assistance on like the grammar, but then they basically kind of like, wait, what am I reading here? Why are you writing in such a way that it's weird? And then that gives you kind of like a pressure, put you under pressure. Some of my advisors came up to me and need an assurance from me, like, Fina, are you sure that I'm writing like the right essay? And I said, yeah, don't worry, because you have to be. And this is like what I love about like the US in general, because we are just like very straightforward and we're just very different. And that's what the essay is about. We want to have like a different essay, right? And so a lot of people outside the US, they are not necessarily going to kind of like be on the same page when they read the kind of essays that you're going to end up with, okay? But really though, like I see the difference when my advisees actually come up to like an American. They rarely make a comment about like, why are you writing it like this? Why are you kind of like because a lot of people thought that when it comes to essay, it has to be kind of like an academic paper, like very formal. I'm not gonna let you do that. So it's going to be kind of like a really fun story, but then at the same time, there are some facts and data and all that. Okay. Another don't, I'm going to go real quick here, is, by now you know that it's not going to be like an autobiography. You already know this. I have no idea how many times I mentioned this. Probably like 5, 6 times tonight. But yeah, I want to put it in your head. Now you know that we're not going to put anything that is in the resume, okay? Contraction, just kind of like make the whole thing neat. We don't want to list experience or achievements out of CV. You are the expert on this by now. If you want to list it, that's fine. But then you have to elaborate on why you want to use it. Is it like an ongoing research? Is it like relevant to what you want to do in the future? If yes, then yes, that's fine. We don't want to say something cliches or general. So we don't want to say something like, oh, I have always wanted to be, or I've always wanted to make Indonesia like a better place. But just straightforward. That's like the American way. Just straightforward why you believe that Indonesia will have a better place by having you do this and that and this and that when you are back to Indonesia. Okay. References to experience or accomplishments before college. This is similar to the events yesterday with resume. We don't want to put anything before college, as in like in high school. Unless you are watching this still in high school and you want to do bachelor's degree, then that's a whole different story. We also want to avoid controversial or highly unconventional topics such as religion and politics, unless that's the program that you want to study on. Yeah, we are very near to the end. Let me close kind of like with writer's block. Do you guys know what writer's block is? Basically, writer's block is, if you're an author of like a book or a novel or what have you, sometimes there are some times where the person just doesn't know what to write, right? And so that can also happen to you guys, but you can only have a writer's block if your deadline is still so far away from now. You are allowed to have writer's block. Don't go too hard on yourself. If you have a hard time moving on from one paragraph to another, take a break, maybe forget about essay for a day or two, and then come back to it again. Some people, like it's really hard for us to actually write an essay, especially in English. That being the case, you can actually, why not, writing down your thoughts and the points, what you want to say in the essay in Bahasa, and then work on the English after that, right? But then please, when you come see me or Santika with your draft, please have it in English, because when I put this slide up the first time, a lot of people actually come see me and Santika, I don't know about Santika, but come see me with their draft in Bahasa. It's not that I don't want to read it in Bahasa, it's just that my brain is already programmed in reading, particularly US and to US universities, is the words limit, because you are in a panic mode that, okay, the university just only asked for 500 words, and then now I don't have like the word, like the space left. That being the case, just write as long as possible. And it is actually okay, I'm telling you right now, it is okay for you to come see me or Santika with 1,000 words, even 2,000 words. I have some advisees that do that in the past, right? And that's okay. And then we're going to cut things down together. It's easier that way, instead of you giving me like a really short information, okay? Ask others who know you well, or maybe ask others who don't know you well. Sometimes when you ask someone who knows you well, as in like your best friend, for example, or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, in order for them not to hurt your feeling, they are not probably always able to tell honest answers. And so maybe they end up saying, oh, your essay is really great. But then, in fact, it's actually not that great yet. But if you ask strangers, like I'm technically going to be your stranger, Santika will be your stranger, but then a good kind of strangers, because not only we're going to be very honest in giving, the feedback on your essay, but then at the same time, we are going to guide you on that, on how to make it strong. So it's a win-win situation for you guys. And again, I happen to love reading essays, so you don't have to worry about, oh, I'm sorry to bother your time. I get actually a lot of advices, kind of like tell me that, and no, don't worry, that's what we are here for. And the last one is actually really, good tips as well. When we are doing the advising session, have your phone ready and just open the voice note app and record our session, right? And then because when we do an advising session on essay, without you actually really realizing it, we are actually doing a brainstorm, okay? So in summary, guys, start early as in at least 2 years before the program starts. And you'll be like, wait, what? 2 years? Hold on, 2 years before the program starts. And then, yeah, if you actually do the math, if you actually look at the calendar, actually 2 years before. Why? Prior to 1 year prior. And then from that, let's say it's 1 year prior, the deadline is 1 year prior. Obviously, you do not want to start working on the essay close to the deadline, right? And it would be really ideal if you actually take another 1 year, or maybe, okay, let's say not 1 year, at least 6 months before the deadline to actually start working your essay. So if you have a deadline in this coming September, or maybe like in January, start now. Like seriously, guys, start now, okay? Another summary, do not write about your biography, you already know this by now, but talk about your vision, your professional goals, and what you would like to achieve in the next 3 to 5 years after the program. That's basically your statement of purpose. Ask the big questions. Who am I trying to help? If not who, what am I trying to help? What is my goal in the future that requires me to study all the way in the United States, right? And then, of course, last but not least, is write, rewrite, rewrite, and rewrite your essay. And this is like why I want to really invite you on a session this coming Saturday, because hopefully we're going to hear from some of my current advisees and Santika's advisees. Santika's is definitely way nicer than me, but it's not like I'm, like, I don't want to scare you. Like when you actually decide for having me on board helping you with the essay, I will try to be nice, but what I'm trying to do is I'm not going to make your life easier because I don't want to do easy essay. Why? Because remember, if you're here from the beginning, I want you to end up with a really strong essays, and that would be the essays that no other people can write, okay? We are here, EducationUSA America advisor, Santika, and myself. We are ready to review and give feedback of your essays. Again, we assist on the structure, not the grammar. By the way, we do not review scholarship essays, like Fulbright, LPDP, we do not review that. We only review US universities essay, and we also do not review essays that are still in Bahasa Indonesia, okay? My schedule, I'm sorry, next time I'm going to put Santika's schedule here as well, but my schedule for essays review via Zoom, because at the moment we are still not open for public here in America, so we are still need to conduct everything via Zoom, is any day between 5 to 9. Feel free to send your draft to my email. Santika will help me copy paste the email in Zoom and her emails as well. We don't do offline review, by the way. Can I do that? Well, technically I can. I can actually read your essay offline, but do I want to do that? No, I don't. I want you to be present when I read your essay, okay? I only do offline review on a case-by-case basis, meaning that if you have been back and forth to see me or see Santika a couple of times, then yes, I would, be able to read the essay offline. So let's build the relationship first between you and I. So please don't just kind of like, hi, Vina, my name is blah, blah, blah. This is my essay. Please, I look forward for your review. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to only give you the review when you're on Zoom. Okay? That's it. Oh my God, I have no idea like the ways for me to actually cut this presentation down, because I feel like all of this information in this slide is very, very important. Hopefully it's not too much, or maybe is it too much? I don't know. Give me some comments, guys. But I'm going to stop share this, and I'm going to call up my colleague Santika, while at the same time, I want to read some of your questions here in the chat. So Santika, how are we doing?
Hi, Vina. Thank you so much for, as usual, the very elaborated and very much detailed presentation. And it's not just me who complimented this presentation. Our participants in Zoom, before you finish the PPT, they already say, thank you so much for, the very detailed presentation and everything, and shoot us with some questions, actually.
I'm really glad to hear that.
So Yeah, I will reply to Zahlo real quick in the Zoom because his question is actually about our past event. And for all of you who are currently watching, if you're wondering how can you watch our past event because you missed it, you can go to our YouTube. The easiest way is you go to our youtube.com/at America, at America with double A in the back. So there you can find all of our past event, I think up to last year since we started going online. But mind you that our monthly events are those that we had yesterday, the one that built strong CV and resume and letter of recommendation, and this one is how to write, personal essay and statement of purpose. So these two are our monthly events because they are so 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 important that we want everyone who wants to study to US know this, like their back of their hand. You don't want to confuse this or mess this one up because it's very important. And so we do have a follow up, like what Fina said. We have a follow up event for this one, which is quite new. Actually, this is the first time we make it, Fina. It's a follow up on today's event on how to write your essay. What I'm thinking, what I have in mind is if, after you learn from the presentation today that Fina gave, you started to write your draft, you check your university website on the prompt or the questions for your essay, and then you started drafting. Not only like, let's say you don't write the whole essay, but you only put out like the outline.
Yeah,
that's a progress. And if you are stuck or anything, or you're confused on how to continue with the challenges you were facing, then coming into our event on Saturday will be very beneficial for you because not only Fina and I will be present, but we try to bring in our advisee who is currently writing their essay or finished writing their essay and maybe got accepted. I'll try to bring in one of my advisee, but I cannot promise you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then you can kind of like, consult with more in-depth question like, Fina, Santika, I have write my outline and then I don't know how to develop this or that. Then, we can try our best to maybe brainstorm, and I think that's very interesting to do in online community because basically ever since we go online, Fina, I think we got so many participants that is outside of Jakarta.
Yeah.
So I find that very helpful for all of us here as supporting one another, and even sometimes in the chat box people can share their information, which is very nice, and I love that. So without further ado, I will go to our first question, and this one is, I can sense the excitement, after your presentation. So this one is from Beth.
It's actually really different than the event yesterday because yesterday while I'm giving the presentation in front of me, which is my laptop, I open up like the chat. I'm not trying to read it because I can't read it because I'm giving the presentation, but then I can see like a lot of pop-ups message coming up. But then tonight I'm like, why is it kind of like quiet?
Exactly.
But
it's the opposite.
But then my assumption would be you guys don't ask me questions because you guys are paying attention to my presentation. If that's the case, I'll be very happy. But I realized that the questions tonight is actually not a lot. Maybe some of you, again, prefer to just like focus on my presentation, which is great as well. And then that's why I, create, Santika and I recreate the session on a Saturday so that we can kind of like do some kind of a discussion follow up to this session tonight. Because clearly, like obviously we only have like 15 minutes. So thank God that we only have like 3 questions here, or maybe more.
It's coming a bit more, but I bet some of them quite can be like similar. So I hope we can cover everyone's question. So this one is from Beth in Zoom. The first one is it kind of mandatory to have an explanation about how my study could solve the world or Indonesians' problem of some kind? Should I state that I want to change the world, have an impact, research and stuff like that, while I don't honestly really want to do that, because the question is like the essay should be honest too, right? And the last statement, I think this is just to support why she have this question, is because she is in science and scientists mostly want to satisfy their own curiosity. not so much focusing on what they want to do for the world, but without realizing that while they are doing their thing, they also contribute to helping the world or impact. So yeah, that's
so I'll try my best to actually answer this question very briefly, but thank you, Beth, for this question. This is actually a really great question. So by the way, guys, I don't know, maybe this is, hopefully you're not going to be like, oh my God, like why didn't you say that in the beginning? But I think I did say a little bit from the beginning. So this, what you're actually seeing tonight, because remember, like I kept mentioning that this is actually years in the making, and I happen to really love this presentation slides. Maybe in the next coming of months, or maybe like next year, I will kind of like make some little changes, but I'm not going to make a lot. It's years in the making, meaning that what you are actually hearing from my presentation tonight is some kind of like a recipe that I found that works for many advisors in the past getting admission from the universities, right? So when you ask if it's mandatory, technically there is no like right or wrong way of writing an essay. By all means, you can actually write an essay that is out of your resume, like that timeline, autobiography, that having that kind of essays. And then quite the opposite when you have this recipe that I created, right? So no, it is not mandatory, but if you have that, kind of like plan, or again, like the scope, it doesn't always have to be about Indonesia, but if you do have it, that's going to be like actually a really good point. And that's and the second one is actually also interesting. Interesting because this is, I put a note here in front of me. The keyword here is ambitious. That's something that you're going to actually have on your conclusion paragraph. And then this is actually questions that a lot of my advisees ask. Fina, so you tell me to actually write this kind of like ambitious story, but then I don't know if that's going to be a reality or not. Don't worry. Just as long as you have this ambitious plan, it doesn't have to be something that is like very definite that you're going to do it. You know what I'm saying? And then you're going to, feel more comfortable doing it as we do one-on-one advising. I know like right now it's kind of like, ooh, I'm not sure if I can write something like this, but don't worry. That's why after this session, I'm looking at a lot of your names here, which I think the majority of you guys here are some, those who have not seen me or Santika. And I really look forward to having, like a one-on-one session with you guys. So hopefully that answers.
Right.
And what do
Thank you so much, Fina. So I will answer this one real quick because we got one question from Zoom and one from Facebook and Instagram, and it's the same question. Is it free of charge? Like even the essay review that we give, repeatedly to the same advisee. Yes, everything is free of charge. So all of the services that EducationUSA at America provides you from step 1 until 5. If you missed the introduction PPT, then you can rewatch it. Basically, everything is free, including the essay review that we don't set a limit on, right, Fina? So I had advisee coming back for about 10 times for revision or more, and I'm sure Fina also have the same case on that. So yeah, we don't put a limit. As long as you do make progress or improvement, we are very happy to have you back and take a look at what you have improved. I hope that answers the question. So another one is from Myla in Zoom. In a case where we don't have any Native American acquaintances, can we ask the EducationUSA of Ed America team to refer us to someone?
That's good. Yeah, that's a good question. I actually also got that question for some of my advisees. I would say try your best to find an American, and then if you, for whatever reason, couldn't find anyone, then go to us. We do have one or two Americans in the house. We also have hopefully some people at the U.S. Embassy who might willing to help. But try your best first to find an American that and then if you can't find anyone, come to us and we'll find a way.
Yep. And actually, Fina, on that part, I don't really, because I don't want to put a lot of pressure for my advisee who some of them are not even in Jakarta. some of them are in Papua or other remote island in Indonesia, which, you know, if you tell them like, oh, you need to find a native speaker to check your grammar, and they'll be like, where on earth should I find one? You know, like I don't know how to find one. And it's not like I'm in Bali where I can just go to the beach and find someone, right? So no, I don't really kind of like highlight that part, but more like, you know, do your best to learn the grammar that's you have been using in your own essay. So don't focus on like, oh, I think I should have a grammar check or grammar lesson or whatever. I think that's a bit too terlalu lengthy in the process, because what you want to focus is on the essay itself.
Right.
Okay? So,
and it's really interesting because Myla, who asked this particular question, basically saying that I am indeed born and living in Papua. That's so funny.
I think I have that.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
that's not. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's not something that you need to kind of like worry about now. But grammar errors is definitely a no-no. But again, that's not something that, structure is actually very important as well. But that, the reasons why I'm mentioning this is basically to tell you that's why you need to start early, so that when you're done early in the game, then we can kind of like, okay, now where to basically work on the grammar, instead of, oh my God, where to work on the grammar because, my deadline is tomorrow, something like that. So we don't want that kind of like situation when you're like in a panic mode.
Right, Vina, we have one very good and interesting question that I, always have that question in my mind and I want to answer to people as well. It's from Ryan Alfian. Hi, Vina and Santika. In case if I wanted to apply to several universities with the same program in the US using the same SOP or essay, let's say, would that be counted as self-plagiarism? If so, how can I avoid this? As you guys know, plagiarism is a big deal in the United States. Plagiarism itu adalah plagiat. Jadi kayak you just copy paste kata-kata atau sentence atau paragraph terus kamu pakai without citing, of course. That's why it's plagiat. So yeah, Fina, this is a very interesting one.
But this is like a really interesting term, self-plagiarism.
Self-plagiarism.
Is that even like a thing?
I don't know.
I wonder. That's a good
know?
one. But no, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Because basically you're applying to the same program, only different universities. It's not like that one essay that we're going to produce, you're going to like literally copy paste the whole thing and then you're going to use it to like all the universities. Oftentimes the part where you're going to change is definitely not the introduction. The introduction can stay as is, so you can actually use the same introduction to like 4 different universities, but there are going to be some at least the one paragraph, it's usually before the conclusion, where that one particular paragraph is when you're talking about that particular program. That's when the part that you want to kind of like modify it. The rest, no. I mean, that's something that my advisors have done a lot. So, for example, I have an advisee who just shared with me that he got accepted to 4 or 5 different universities that he applied, and then I remember that we actually used that one essay, and he got accepted. So it's good.
Yeah, cool. So, and another thing, I think it's very interesting to share as well that in our chat box, and this is why we love Zoom, right? There's this one person in Zoom mentioning that you can actually use like Grammarly to improve your grammar.
Thanks, Alex, for sharing that. I heard a lot about Grammarly. I have not personally used that. I don't know about you, Santika, but a lot of people actually mention Grammarly.
Yeah. So one of my advice actually come to me after, experimenting on a few apps or programs and services actually that, grammar check your essay for free or whatever reason. And the result came out very, how do I call this? Lifeless. Like your essay is just very formal, it just doesn't sound like you, and you don't want that to happen, and you don't want to submit that kind of essay. So what I suggest people who wants to use Grammarly or other programs similar to that is actually use it, but kind of like in moderation. So not like the whole essay that you use the autocorrect or whatever. features they have that makes it perfect. But give your essay a character of you, like ciri khas kamu sendiri. So if you want to use those apps or like application or software, just use it moderately, kayak cuman parts of the sentence or the words, and that's it. Don't use it for the whole thing and autocorrect it. Okay. All right. I think we covered everything, Fina.
Yeah,
this is quite happy.
We got one last question. Hopefully, this is going to be the last, and then we can kind of like wrap things up. From Nino Manwidi Kundari, thanks for attending the session. Hello, Fina and Santika. Is the statement of purpose or personal statement different with cover letter? The short answer is yes. So, I mean, cover letter is not. Cover letter is usually, a letter that you would want to use when you apply for a job. However, I don't know. I think
The
you
MBA.
understand our session from the beginning. I did mention cover letter just to kind of like give you an example. The fact that MIT Sloan School of Business, they didn't ask for an essay, but they did ask for a cover letter.
Exactly.
It's kind of like their unique way, because MBA programs in the US, they always like very different, very unique. They like to be very like bizarre by asking a cover letter. But I don't actually see any other universities actually ask for a cover letter. But yeah, no, it's different, but it's kind of like their way of kind of like read your essay in a cover letter form. But the answer is different. Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, I can say that it's different because when my advisee come to me with that for MIT Sloan and MBA, I'm like, are you sure it's a cover letter? And when I go to the website, it says cover letter, and so we have to change our strategy in writing it, because then it becomes a letter, not an essay. So you need to be aware of the format itself, because that's the biggest difference, I would say. But in terms of like the content, I would say the structure is pretty much introduction, body, and closing paragraph. But you just need to be much more briefer than your essay, because your essay could be 2-page, depending on the limit. But cover letter usually is just 1 page, including the, dear, to whom it may concern, whatever, and sincerely.
Yeah. And we don't want that in the essay for sure. Yeah. And Ryan here is kind of like giving other comments about that self-plagiarism, and he said, I heard that some university using software to detect plagiarism, so it's apparently a thing. That's quite interesting. But yeah, no, I believe that as long as the author of the essay is you and only you, I don't think that's considered like plagiarism. As in, like, plagiarism is kind of like when you copy paste, I don't know, like news or like articles from the website or whatever.
Yeah. So. And another note for Alex is that when you say plagiarism, it's like what Fina said. It's not what you originally wrote, and then you use it without citing. And when you write an essay for different universities, of course, you are not writing 100% same essay and you're going to submit it to every university that you want to apply. So you don't want to write something for, I choose UC Berkeley, for example. I choose UC Berkeley because of A, B, C, and D. And then you are going to use the same thing to apply for UCLA. And of course, that is not going to work out for UCLA, because they apparently know that you use this exact same thing for UC Berkeley and you don't bother to change it. So I think your concern here is that, and we are here to clarify you that once you make one very good essay, what you need to change or customize, like what Fina said in her presentation, is that part on why you choose that program and that university.
Yep.
And probably some other things just to match the the questions given on the website, or the prompt, and kind of like the word limit or the page limit, if there is anything to follow on that. So not plagiarism at all. You don't want to worry on that, except if you copy paste the whole paragraph from someone, then you're in a big problem. Other than that, you're good. Okay.
Yeah. So wow, that's time flies. Exactly 8:30. But I would like to thank everyone. I would like to thank you, Santika. Well, basically everyone who's like listening to my long presentation. Let's continue the session on a Saturday. So on a Saturday we are going to kind of like, I want to give you some kind of like a heads up, kind of like an idea what you're going to go through when you actually see me or Santika when it comes to essay writing. For example, I have an advisee right now who is still on, well, not still, is already on a 10th revision, and we are nowhere done. So, and I tell the person that we have so many other, revisions going on. And so again, I'm not just like, I'm not trying to kind of like make yourself like really, really hard, but then I just want to kind of like, you guys end up with like a really strong essay. So we're going to hear more on that on Saturday. So thank you guys so much. Don't forget to register. Going to be on Saturday at 1:30. Okay. I would like to thank the whole America team. And I look forward in having you guys again on Saturday, and have a good night. And I'm going to give you back to Jasmine.
Thank you so much, Kafina, and also Kasantika, for a wonderful session this evening. Now, earlier in the event, I asked you guys a social media question. Why do colleges ask for personal essays? So why do they ask for personal essays? Is it for more insight about you? Proof of your writing skills? Or why do you want to apply to that school? Or are all those three ABCs correct? Well, the answer is all the ABCs are correct. So the answer is D, all of the above. Shout out to Maris Malia from Instagram for answering correctly. For those of you who would like to join our social media quiz next time, you guys can tune in from the very beginning of the event, because that's when we share our question. Now, earlier in the event, I also told you guys that America is having a giveaway as part of our 10th anniversary celebration, and also a celebration of Earth Day. We're inviting you guys to participate in our giveaway. And how can you guys do so? Check this video out.
Rayakan Earth Day selama sebulan penuh bersama America. Di bulan April ini, kami punya berbagai aktivitas seru yang dapat kamu ikuti untuk mendukung Earth Day dan melawan perubahan iklim dari rumah kalian. Kalian dapat membuat seni, memasak, memamerkan tanaman, bergaya dengan pakaian bekas, dan mencari tahu apakah kalian lebih tinggi dari sampah kalian. Kalian dapat melihat detail aktivitas-aktivitas ini dengan mengunjungi bit.ly/payearthforward. Upload satu aktivitas yang kalian pilih untuk lakukan ke Facebook, Instagram, atau Twitter, dan sertakan hashtag Earth Day, hashtag PayEarthForward, dan satu hashtag aktivitas yang kalian pilih. Jangan lupa untuk tag @America loh. Pastikan akun kalian publik ya. Kalian bisa ikutan aktivitas ini dari sekarang sampai 30 April. Akan ada giveaway 5 sepeda lipat dahon di akhir aktivitas ini untuk 5 orang yang beruntung loh.
Alright guys, so what are you waiting for? For more information, you guys can go to the link at bit.ly/payearthforward. Now, how can you develop an awesome idea at an awesome place like America? It's really easy. You guys can just go to our website at www.adamerica.or.id, select create a program, and go to collaborate with us. All proposals coming to us will be reviewed, and your event might be featured here soon. And while you guys are on our website, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter so you guys get updates from us just once a week. We won't spam you, we promise. And also don't forget to follow us on our social media. I hope you guys have a good evening and see you at the next America TV event. Bye-bye, everybody.